And I really think it's one of the best ways to change our world is to focus on becoming an ethical being yourself, and learning how to be ethical in community and in business and in any organizational form that you want to do. You want to achieve a goal that you can't achieve on your own. Well,
All right, so welcome everybody. This is another uh, iteration in our Anarchapulco 24/7 365 interview series. Today we've got another special guest. It's Kenton Van Dunk. Kenton is is kind of a new member of our community, relatively, but really kind of embodies the spirit of what we're all about. And so I'll just get right into it. Kent, you want to just give us a little introduction to who you are, where you came from, and what you're all about?
sounds good. So, hello everybody. My name is Kenton Van Dunk. For the last 10 years, I guess I've been traveling around the world. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And when I was growing up, I always had some kind of a fire in my right here, right in my soul, I guess, that I wanted something more than the life that was going on. I didn't really understand much about the world then, but when I graduated university, I heard a quote from Che Guevara, and he said, "Be changed by the world so you could change it." And that just sparked the fire in me even greater. So when I was 22, I graduated university and I just took off. My first place was actually Cuernavaca, Mexico. And how the universe works when you're brave enough to kind of, I guess, create and follow the fire in your soul. The whole universe helps you along your path, right? And so I found myself in a community there that was teaching kids that they have another way to live. They don't have to go the route of drugs and the narcos, and you can live a life of honor. And so this school was just teaching kids ethics, how to be honest, how to be proud of your everyday, how to not take things personally. There's a book called The Four Agreements. That was one of the main curriculums of the school. And I just saw over a year how the kids growed and changed, and how it changed my life just to live by these ethics. So I thought, oh wow, this whole be changed by the world thing really works.
Nice.
The next year I decided to keep on going. I learned quite a bit of Spanish during my time in Cuernavaca, and my dad said, "Hey, check out China." This is about, I'd say, 8 years ago now. Check out China. And so I just bought a plane ticket. I didn't have much money then. I had about $500.
Wow.
But I was 22, 23, 24 maybe, and I was just adventurous. So I took off and arrived in Shanghai, China, and was blown away by how different the people were there, how different the world was there. It was just, I don't know if anybody's been to China, but it's a completely different way of doing things, from the way they eat, the way they talk, the way they respect, the way they sleep, the way they flirt. Every single aspect of life is different. So what I did was I was like, okay, Ken, this is so different that you can really be changed by this place, right? Keep the theme going. So I left Shanghai, where there's quite a bit of Westerners there, and I bought a ticket to just a small village in the center of China called Henan. Henan is the biggest province in the world. It's 100 million people.
Wow.
And when I just lived in a village there. When I first got there, I didn't really know anybody, couldn't speak the language, couldn't use chopsticks. And I've just going on this good vibe that I had in Mexico. I was just living ethically. I was doing my best to learn the language, doing my best to be honest. And people saw that I was there just to learn. And after about 6 months of just living and playing basketball with the kids and teaching them English for just volunteering, and them teaching me Chinese and whatnot, and I just built a community there. And what happened is pretty crazy. I didn't know I was doing this. It wasn't on purpose, but I was learning a certain dialect of Chinese that is really popular in China, a local, very local dialect. And one day there was a director that heard there was this foreigner in this village here, because you got to imagine 1 million people in this village I was in, a village, but 1 million people, but they have never seen a foreigner before. So everybody knew there's this white guy who could speak some local dialect, and it just got out. And the director came through and he found me and said, hey, I need to do an article on you about some news channel or something. I don't know. Well, I did it, and the rest is history. In the next 2 years, I became a nationwide actor in China. Started out with just doing a bunch of shows and speaking in front of people with this local dialect. And then I discovered that I have a kind of a talent for acting. Nice. And I really enjoyed it. And so this last year, due to the whole boom in the Chinese Instagram and social media, I built a team, and we have a community now of about 3 million followers in Chinese social media. And it's been pretty unbelievable. But the biggest point of this whole story is that what I learned is no matter where you are in the world, first of all, if you do your best to follow and create the fire in your soul, you really can do what you want to do, and the world it really just helps you along your path. You got to have the faith and the courage to go do it. And obviously I know the truth of the matter. Obviously I'm a white guy, blonde hair, blue eyes, in a world that accepts white people more than others in some ways. And I get all this, but I also understand that it was not easy to make the decision to go into that village. It was not easy to get over all the brainwashing that the media filled my mind about China before I went. Before I went to China, all my friends sat down and had a meeting with me about how communist China is and how there's no freedom and how I'm going to get locked up as soon as I get there. And I was scared, but I did it, and it changed my world. And now with all this stuff that's going on with America and China and all this, to be honest, bullshit media, what I want to tell everybody is, you guys all know, living here in Mexico, people will talk shit about the Mexicans and say they're this and that, but we know that the Mexicans are beautiful people. They eat differently. Maybe they talk a little different. Maybe they act differently, but they're people just like us. Yeah. And Chinese people are the same. Middle Eastern people are the same. No matter where we are in the world, they're just people who are doing our best to make our lives better in any way we can. And the sad part is that most of the time, just like the kids in the neighborhood when I originally was in Mexico, most of the time we don't have options of how to live a different life. But just like my teacher did in that community in Cuernavaca, where she showed them a different way, you can be proud of your life. You can live ethically. We can do this all over the world. We can do this here in Acapulco, just by living ethically within ourselves, by doing your best to just simple things, be honest. Think about how you can improve the lives of yourself and others around you. Live this 4 agreement book, really, I think is pretty amazing. Live by a few agreements that are in line with, I call it evolution. There's a book that John David Garcia wrote called Creative Transformation. He talks about all these evolutionary ethics. Yeah. Well, to me, evolutionary ethics is just follow and create your soul. What are your desires? Do them, but find healthy ways to achieve them. Ways that are not hurting people. Ways that are, and regardless of your culture, or where you're from, or whatever it is, there's no wrong way to live. If you're not hurting people, if you're not being destructive, if you're being creative and encouraging evolution in whatever way you want, that's your gift for the world. So I really hope, my reason for coming back to Acapulco after all this is because my friend Bob Podolsky, he's been doing a lot of projects that are similar to what John David had going on. And I really think it's one of the best ways to change our world is to focus on becoming an ethical being yourself, and learning how to be ethical in community and in business and in any organizational form that you want to do. You want to achieve a goal that you can't achieve on your own. Well, we need to find ethical ways to do this. And I really think it can change the world. So I'm coming back to learn from Bob and Michael and everybody else here how you guys are doing this, and hopefully we can find ways to bridge these ethical communities around the world together.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good segment. But I did want to ask you about the video that you do, and it seems like you do quite a few inspirational videos. Is there some particular influence that brings you to do those things, or is it something that's just from inside, or is it something that's inspired from outside?
So when I was young, I grew up in the inner city Milwaukee. So I was just I was a little white boy. My name was White Boy until I was 18. Surrounded by African Americans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and I was in that inner city community. It was not popular to be white. It was kind of the opposite of the world. Whereas I walk into Mexico and it's like, oh, this handsome white guy. Well, when I was growing up, it was, oh, this fucking white boy. I wouldn't be picked up for the basketball team. I wouldn't be chosen as a dance partner. Or it was just I was less for being white, and I experienced this reverse racism my whole life. I didn't know it, but I grew up with this dream in my soul that I could impact the world and actually do some great stuff. But my whole surroundings were telling me that I was not shit. So I grew up with such a low self-esteem. And then when I left America when I was 21, and I came to Mexico, and I was overwhelmed with this white privilege. I was like, wow, you're awesome. You're beautiful. Look at this blue eye, like all this stuff. I was like, wait. My whole life I was told that I was ugly. Now you're going to tell me that I'm handsome? I was like, well, who's right? And I went to China, and it was even more. It was like, oh, dude, you're the most handsome guy I've ever seen. I'm like, what? Like where? So it just opened my mind. That was, who's right here?
Yeah.
If these people are saying this is right, and these people are saying this is right, maybe this is my life. Maybe it's my perspective to choose what I feel is right. And that's been my organization. I've opened a nonprofit well, it was before I knew how bad the government was. It was a nonprofit organization that was just trying to help people to figure out who they are, who they want to be, and how can you get there in a healthy way. And don't let anybody tell you that you're ugly or that you can't do something. It's just yours to create. So my messages that I send in these videos are to reach out to all those kids in the world, all the people in the world who think you're not good enough, who are filled with guilt for from all the bullshit that we're told, because maybe I do enjoy sex, and maybe I do want to enjoy it with other people, and maybe I do want to live a different way that's not accepted in society. And we get filled with guilt, and we lie to ourselves, and we just contain who we are so deep in us that we sometimes forget who we are, and then we just follow the path of the matrix, and we just robots, and we lie to ourselves. My goal is to be the change and live the example that every day, hey, I am a low self-esteemed human being who is doing my best every moment to beat that, to challenge myself, to grow. And you can too. No matter what your position or situation is, anybody in this world, you are born to be an evolutionary being. You are born to further along evolution. And the best way you could do it is being yourself and figuring out how to improve the skills that make you you and that you're interested in.
Yeah.
So that's my message.
Yeah. Well, you've got a great story there, and I can certainly identify with some of the things you say in regard to going to a different culture and finding out all these things that you think you know about things are completely different in another culture, and it's just like they're like things that you thought were so important in this other culture are completely non-existent. And when you when you start to see that, and I'm sure you've got a great deal more experience in this regard, being that you really push the limit with going out and exploring. What do you think about conquering fear and people's in your case, the things that people try to instill in you in fear, like going to China and stuff like that? How do you overcome that?
So fear, I see, is the biggest challenge in every species, every animal, every human's life. It is what can, if you can beat it, if you can conquer it, what helps you to evolve. And if you don't, it's what helps you to go extinct. So I guess for me personally, the way I handle fear is it's always going to be there. Yes, you can get better in certain areas. Okay, so for example, when I first got to China, I was scared shitless. When I first got to Mexico, I was scared shitless. every day. My first month in China, I cried every night alone in my room because I was just so scared. It was so weird, so different. But I just held on to this thought. Kent, this is your challenge. You know that once you can succeed, you're gonna be overwhelmed with enthusiasm, overwhelmed with confidence. It's like training in a weight room in the gym or doing push-ups or whatever. It's gonna hurt and it's hard sometimes. But you know when you start getting some muscles and you start getting healthy and whatnot, you get filled with this confidence. It overwhelms you. Every morning I wake up, usually I have a moment of insecurity. And it's from my childhood of just being scared to leave the house, to go outside and have to be the white boy again. But with practice, this is the beautiful thing about fear, just like everything else, it gets less and less and less. And there are ways if you do something enough, if you face a fear in a certain way consistently enough, it will go away in that specific area. So for example, for me now, doing one of these interviews, before the interview starts, yeah, I'm a little nervous, but nothing compared to what I would have been 10 years ago. And I'm excited to share my story and who I am. 10 years ago, public speaking or speaking to anybody was the biggest fear ever for me. I would be so nervous to do this kind of interview. But now that I've done it a million times, and you're just one step at a time. This is what I always tell the followers I have in China. I always tell them, whatever makes you nervous, do it. If it scares you, and if it's something healthy, do it. And maybe you don't jump off the cliff the first day, but do something in that direction. Take a step. Get used to it. Have you seen the movie Solo, the climbing movie?
I haven't. Sorry.
Okay. Well, in that movie, the guy, what he does is he climbs the biggest mountain climbing thing you can do without any ropes. He climbs it, and they ask him, "How the hell do you face your fear and do that? If you fall, you die." Well, what he said was, "I just practice my moves enough. Wherever I'm afraid, I practice that move enough that I just practice out the fear." And that's the same thing with me in my life. Whatever you're afraid of it because it's uncomfortable. It's new. It's different. Practice it. Practice. One little step at a time.
Yeah, that's a big emphasis of what I call my ethical emergence course is effectively building habits and creating little bitty habits that over time just keep knocking away at whatever the goal is. And another thing that you pointed out is your long-term, having a long-term outlook, which like Henry Hazlitt, who's got the Economics in one lesson book, he describes long-term thinking as moral thinking. And it is true, that really like the long-term thinkers are the more moral, and the long-term plans are the more moral things. It's usually the short-term people that are doing immoral things, because they want to get money or they want to get power or they want to get something. And so, having long-term plans and then having a philosophy that creates habits that little by little works you to where you want to go. That's really a big key.
I agree with you. I'll tell you the biggest, besides that quote, "Be changed by the world so you could change it." Besides that quote that changed my life, there's one ethic that I adopted into my life that has changed me. And I know this, if we can accept this idea into society, it will change the world. And it's what John David called the evolutionary ethic. Mm-hmm. And all it is think about the history of the universe, of the world. From the beginning of time, there has been a pattern of evolution leading up to us. We are, in our little system, the most evolved species there is. Well, let's look at the pattern of what helps things to evolve and what helps things to go extinct. Well, fear helps things usually go extinct. Being able to adapt helps things grow. Creating now for humans is the most evolved behavior we can have. So what enhances our creativity? What allows us to innovate? The ability to innovate is what pushes along evolution. So how can we maximize innovation in our life? How can we come up with new ideas, with new behaviors and new healthy ways of doing things? Well, John David broke this down. We don't have to do the research. You can if you want, but he already broke it down for us. The way to maximize your creativity, your evolution, is to first increase your ethics. First, increase the ability to predict and control your behavior. So to choose which behaviors are actually creating healthy, growing, beautiful situations. If we're looking at a plant, what would help that plant grow? Sunlight, water, good soil. Well, look at a human. What helps that human grow? Sunlight, love, hugs, intimacy, honesty, feedback, the knowing that you deserve anything you want to do and you can create and you can face your fears, and all these things are evolutionary behaviors. And if you increase that and decrease the destruction, the jealousy, the fear, the hate, if we increase that, we will become a moral society. This is what John David always described it as, a moral society, that we're not going to live in this world that we live in now. We'll live with people like us who are, yes, not perfect, and we will fail, and you learn from your mistakes, and bad things happen sometimes. You learn from it, but it'll be a self-corrective system because everybody's based on this evolutionary ethic in their own beautiful way that it's constantly creating, constantly growing, and we're lowering the destructive behaviors. So that's what I'm hoping to do with Bob and Michael and everybody here in Anarchapulco.
That too. Yeah. Right. Yeah, well, that's that kind of translates into something that I learned when I was studying my master's degree in college on industrial technology. I ran into Deming's work, and his idea of statistical process control and constant improvement, and I think that's one of the things that is another project we're working on. Local Dynamo is what I call it, the project Local Dynamo. And, the idea of creating a process for community in a way that we can, utilize the things that Deming learned and applied to like manufacturing a process that got the Japanese to build products and cars and everything else that was 10 times better and was more productive, had higher quality, was lower cost. It was everything that everybody said you couldn't do, but they did it.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that we can do with ourselves and our community, and create a community that has incentives that actually reward the right things instead of the incentives that reward the wrong things. And I think we've been conditioned so much to believe that the way things are the way things have to be, and it ends up being, like you said, with the I'll call it the lower consciousness, the hatred, the anger, the shame, the guilt, all those kind of things. When we keep ourselves in that kind of a mindset or lower consciousness, we're really robbing ourselves of the energy of the higher consciousness, the love, the joy, the enlightenment, all those things that just give us all kinds of energy, that it's just amazing. But if we keep our perspective and we keep our eyes like low and in the lower conscious realm, where we're always afraid and always fearing what other people might do to us, that's what we end up promoting, that kind of stuff. We end up just living in that kind of thing, and
Exactly.
it's unnecessary.
One of my biggest differences, I guess, with the whole Anarchapulco, the whole anarchy thing, is obviously I'm an anarchist. Obviously, I don't support government. I see the destruction of it, but what I try to be honest with myself and see the negative parts of the world and learn from them. But I focus on creating a new way that makes that way obsolete. I'm not even seeing it because it's so obviously it's so less evolved of a way of living. So I think the best way is for us to do is not to focus. There's so many people who will focus on all the destruction of the world and how terrible shit is. Well, yeah, but let's focus all our time and energy on creating a new way. But that should just not exist. That's what evolution does. If something works less efficient, it's gonna die off. So that shit will die off. So I think we just focus on creating. And I really think what you said, like the Deming model and how it changed Japan and whatnot. I really think strong, 100%. Well, as certain as I can be with still being ethical, I'm pretty confident that what we're doing here with Michael and Bob Podolsky and John David's theory of these octologs, they call them, in small groups of communities and small no hierarchy communities of based on feedback and honesty, is going to be the way to, it's going to replace the world systems. It's the future. Now we just got to figure out how to do it. And that's what hopefully we can come together to do.
Yeah, well, that's certainly something where you've got to build a process that people can practice and they can, I'm with you with a lot of the thing, in regard to like labeling ourselves as anarchist or anything else for that matter. That's really secondary to being ourselves. And I think, and you've certainly displayed it, that most people are trying to be good. They want to be good. They see the rewards in being good, even in a system that's totally upside down. They still realize that, that lying and cheating, for the most part, even when it means you're making money, doesn't really bring you the happiness that that supposedly that those commercials and the products and all the things promised that they were going to deliver. They may for day one or day two, but 30 days down the road, you got that Lambo, and it's really not exactly what you thought it was.
I'm not religious at all, but my father's a Christian minister, and he shoved the Bible down my throat a lot. But there was a quote that sticks with me that Jesus said. He's like, you can gain the whole world, but if you lose your soul, you ain't got nothing, pretty much. So gain the world in a healthy way. And that's what we're doing, hopefully, and creating here. Michael, I just want to say before we finish is, sure. I really think the best way that anybody can impact the world is if anybody's hearing this message and like, man, I really wish I could be doing something that I love to do. Well, think about who you are. Who do you want to be? What is it that you, in your soul, let all the noise go. If there's no limits to what you can do in your life, what's your idea of a dream life? What's your idea of a great life? Write it down. Put it somewhere that you can see it. Have all these different ideas. And it doesn't have to be one thing. It can be many different things. What's your idea of a great life? And how can you get there starting now? And how can you get there in a healthy way? And then if your idea needs more people, well, then you just hopefully start talking to people who have similar interests. But it won't happen unless you start being honest and telling people what you like to do. And then, but if you do that, then we find good, healthy, ethical ways to do it. Man, we can create so much in this world. It's no limit. Just starting with that community in Cuernavaca and seeing how these little kids, and now they're adults, now they're like 15, 20, how they've created a community where now their children and their little brothers and sisters, it's normal for them to be honest. It's normal for them to give each other feedback and to follow their dreams and talk about what they want to do when they grow up. It's normal. These kids are getting born into the future. That's the future of the world. And if these poor kids in violent, narco-centered Cuernavaca can do this, well, I have faith that all these super smart Westerners with these great opportunities, we can do this too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to keep you too long, but I did want to ask you a couple things about your experience in China and how kind of the latest things are going on with with the whole Trump trade war and all that kind of stuff. How has China changed for you in the past few years?
So
in regard to Trump?
so 3 years ago, just by being American, I was. It was like, oh, you're American. Oh, wow. It was like, wow, awesome. Well, in the last 6 months, it's been you're American. Oh, and as far as my career goes, I mean, 2 years ago, I was filming national television movie series all the time. I was filming 365 days a year, and now there's no one. They're not allowed. It's not allowed to call me, but it's like this unwritten thing. We don't use American actors, and to be honest, the vibe is just now is that Americans are bullies. It's like China's saying this, and I don't know if this is true. I don't really know the details, or really actually I don't even know what's going on in the big picture. But on the local level, what the thought is we want to be able to work with America. But what Trump's saying is it's win or lose. We can't have win-win for everybody. And that's completely against the evolutionary ethic that I believe in. It can always be win-win. It can always be win-win for everybody. We can always find a way to do it. You just got to find creative ways to do it. And that's the biggest sadness of China right now, is that they're like, hey, we're willing to work with you. But now that Trump's like, China this, China that, they're like, all right, well, we're not going to be bullied. Like they've risen up. This is what people need to know about China. 30 years ago, they were poor, like just like the poorest places in Mexico, or the poorest, or you've been to Central America or South America or Thailand, or just poor. In the last 30 years, because of kind of a sad system too, but they've risen up to be a world power, and the people are proud of it. And even though they are in a lot of ways still robots, just like we are in America, they're proud of the fact that they're not starving. They're proud of the fact that we have cars and we have buildings, and they're not gonna stand by to let America bully them again. And I really hope that this hate that is spewing from America right now, that it doesn't create a new war, and hopefully, but maybe that's part of the destruction that needs to happen.
Something else you told me in another conversation is the Chinese are becoming great consumers. Where they're looking for unique things and stuff like that. The things that Americans have really been known for, being unique and doing different things and stuff like that. This is what they're thirsty for. And yet
China,
at that very point, America is like shutting the door, and it's crazy. But
China has been, the way they rose up from poverty was by becoming the world's factory. They just got billions of people to work in these factories, and just got foreign people to invest and to have their companies. Well, slowly China started letting the foreign people go, and they started taking over the factories themselves, and then the money just started going around. Well, from working in factories for 30 years and then waking up morning till night, if you're a kid, going to school and never having time for personal thinking or freedom of thought or anything, the human nature is, you develop this hunger for creativity. You develop this hunger for anything different, or anything new, or art, or anything that's different than what they have going on. And so that's part of the reason why I flourish so much. Yeah, I've never had acting training or anything like that, but the fact that I'm willing to try to cry in this situation, I'm willing to try to be funny there, I'm willing to dance, or I'm willing to sing, it's like, wow, that's a full human being. They see me as like this whole human being, where it's like it's like Pleasantville almost, going into Pleasantville and just showing that, yeah, you can see color. And they're so hungry and willing and wanting to work with the world and the Western people. The Chinese people, man, they're just like everybody else, but they are part of their culture is to be trained on respect, and they really do respect other people. I can leave my cell phone on the street and no one's gonna steal it. If I could leave for a day, and the next day it'll probably still be there because it's not their phone. Well, that's partly because of fear of getting punished and whatnot, but part of it is just respect. And that's something, what I've learned is that there's many things of each small community, big communities, countries, places that we can all learn from. And if we can just learn from each other's stuff, man. And the only way to do that is to be like the guy in Avatar, to be like me in that situation. Just be changed by the world. Don't go in thinking, oh, we got to teach them how to do things. They're different, so they're wrong. No, let's think about why they do things in the way they do it. And then maybe we can add it to our repertoire of ways to do things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Collaboration. It's really the key, and peer to peer, giving people the respect that you want yourself,
So one of my hopes, and I hope to provide this for the Anarchapulco community, is I've developed a very good way to learn languages, and I see languages as the key to opening the door to understanding a culture. So if there's ever anybody who wants to learn Spanish, I'm not perfect in Spanish or anything, but I can learn a language really quick, and I can help other people do it as well. So if anybody wants to learn, you can hit me up.
Awesome, man.
Yep.
All right. Well, Kenton, I really appreciate your time. You did this on the spur of the moment, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this for our community. And, so grateful for all the things that you do, and really, want to help you in any way and every way that I can. So
thanks, Michael.
Keep up the good work, man, and we'll see you soon.
All right, Michael, I appreciate you. And you keep doing it too, man. Without you, these messages wouldn't get out to people. So keep it up.
Will do. All right.
All right,
Take care, man.
All right. Thanks, man.